Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 21st June 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 8 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first topic. Title says plan to put Lakshadweep under Karnataka High Court. So this article mainly talking about Lakshadweep High Court. So actually in our constitution, so it mainly said that high courts are present for separately for state, that is one high court for state, and there are also high court which is present for state plus union territories and for 2 or more states, right? So here this Lakshadweep mainly comes under Kerala High Court jurisdiction now. So why? There is a plan to put this Lakshadweep under this Karnataka High Court. So we are going to see background. So as we know that new Lakshadweep administrator, he came up with a number of important changes in administration. So because of this, there are many riots and as well as there are many oppositions are coming regarding that. So because of this, what happened? There are a number of cases which are filed in this Kerala High Court. So because of this, now Lakshadweep administrator, he want to keep this Lakshadweep under Kerala High Court. So earlier Lakshadweep was under Kerala High Court and later it changed to, earlier it was under Karnataka High Court and changed into Kerala High Court jurisdiction. And now again new administrator of this Lakshadweep, they are planning to put this Lakshadweep under this Karnataka High Court. So what is important here? So here you need to know about what is background of this topic. So whenever you are knowing background only, then you can understand the current context. And you have to know some important facts regarding this Lakshadweep. And also you have to know about this Kerala High Court jurisdiction. So the power which is vested in which, that will be important from polity point of view. So overall this article will be very important from GS paper 2 under polity point of view because High Court which is coming into picture now. And you need to know geography of Lakshadweep. So now let's try to understand this topic in a very great detail. So context mainly says that Lakshadweep administration facing widespread protest over its policies. So because of this, now new administration of Lakshadweep proposed to shift its legal jurisdiction from Kerala High Court to Karnataka High Court. Okay. So why this decision taken by Lakshadweep? Because so Lakshadweep administration mainly facing widespread protest over policies which are coming up by new administration. So because of this, they are planning to shift legal jurisdiction of this Lakshadweep from Kerala High Court to Karnataka High Court. So if you are talking about some important details, it mainly says that so proposal initiated by administration after several litigations, they were moved before Kerala High Court. So there are many litigations or number of petitions which are filed in this Kerala High Court against decision taken by this new administrator. For example, regarding some standard operating procedures of COVID-19 appropriate behavior that changed. So because of this, that led to increase in number of cases in Lakshadweep, and as well as Lakshadweep administration came up with the Gunda Act, and as well as administration, they went for demolishing hutments of fishermen along coast, mainly for widening of roads and as well as some important development activities. So because of all these things, there are about 23 applications, and this also include 11 writ petitions they have been filed against administration of Lakshadweep and as well as police and against local government. So because of this, now Lakshadweep came up with this proposal for shifting of legal jurisdictions from High Court of Kerala to Karnataka. So now let us talk about some important dimensions from polity point of view. So if you want to go for shifting of jurisdiction from one high court to another high court, so it cannot be done by that administration or state government or union territory government. So this can be done only by Parliament Act, that is Act of and Parliament according to law. So because of this, whenever shifting or plan to shift this jurisdiction from one high court to another high court, it is null and void in case of Lakshadweep now. So which article in our constitution talks about this? So article 241 of Indian constitution mainly says that Parliament may by law constitute a high court for union territory, or Parliament by law can declare court in such any territory to be high court of that area. Okay, so this is article 241. So under this article 241, power it is given to Parliament but not the state government, mainly to change their jurisdiction from one high court to another high court. So I want to give you a homework. So please open your Lakshmikant and refer this high court topic. So this topic will be very much important from both prelims and as well as mains point of view. Okay. So now let us talk about some important facts or geography related thing regarding this Lakshadweep. So Lakshadweep, it is a tropical archipelago and it mainly contains 36 atolls and coral reefs in Lakshadweep Sea. So out of these 36, there are 11 inhabited. So out of these 36, one important island, that is Parali Island, mainly submerged because of water sea erosion. So now there are about 35 islands in this Lakshadweep. So what is meaning of Lakshadweep? Laksha means 1 lakh, islands means, Dweep means island. So it means 1 lakh islands. And one important thing that you need to remember here is, one of important official and widely used language in Lakshadweep is Malayalam. Okay, and if you are talking about capital of this Lakshadweep, that is Kavaratti. So Kavaratti, it is the capital of this union territory. And here this Lakshadweep comes under jurisdiction of Kerala High Court. And I want to share you some important facts regarding this Lakshadweep. That is 8-degree channel, or it is also called as 8-degree north latitude, which mainly separates islands of Minicoy and Maldives. So Minicoy, it is one of largest island of Lakshadweep. And next one is 9-degree channel. So it is also called as 9-degree north latitude, which mainly separates Minicoy from main Lakshadweep archipelago. So these are some important facts that you need to remember, and in some SSC and as well as in some states public service examinations, you can see this direct question regarding 10-degree channel, 8-degree channel and 9-degree channel. So you have to be focused and you need to know that. So this is about this topic, and now let us move on to next topic. Title says concerns on IT rules are highly misplaced. So this article mainly talking about what are the concerns regarding this IT rules. So recently government came up with this new IT rules for social media platforms and as well as OTT platforms. So we already discussed about what are the important things or important provisions of this new IT rules, right? So we are not going to discuss that. This is your turn to revise those important provisions of this new IT rules. And let me know in comment box, so what are those important provisions of this IT rules? Don't forget about this. So this article will be very much important regarding GS paper 2 under governance. So to understand this, first we need to know background. So government came up with this new IT rules for social media platforms and OTT platforms. Okay, so regarding this there are many issues. Okay, so these issues are mainly highlighted by this Human Rights Council of Geneva. So whatever the statements which are given by this Human Rights Council, so to that statements our government gave some reply. So this article mainly talking about the reply which is talked by our government. So this article will be important regarding governance. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So context says that experts from United Nations, 3 special rapporteurs of United Nations, they expressed serious concerns regarding this new IT rules. They are mainly infringing, or they are mainly having some wide range of human rights violation. So this is the context. So here United Nations also says that, so these rules are not in line with international human rights principles and they are highly misplaced. And this new IT rules of India, they were framed after extensive consultation with stakeholders and they are meant to protect the rights of online users. So what is context here? So recently government came up with this new IT rules, right? So this new IT rules are having some concerns, okay? So what happened here? These three special rapporteurs of United Nations, they expressed some serious concerns. They are mainly infringing human rights, and United Nations also said that they are not in line with international human rights principles. They are highly misplaced. And these new rules of India, they were framed after extensive consultation with stakeholders. So what happened here? So here United Nations mainly having some concerns here. So according to that, what happened here? Indian government mainly said that, so these new IT rules, they were framed after extensive research, extensive consultation with the stakeholders. And here India mainly said that these rules are mainly meant for mainly protection of some human rights of people who are using this online. So this is the reply which is given by India to this Human Rights Council. So if you're talking about details, it mainly says that these rules are designed to empower ordinary users of social media, and the victims, especially children and as well as especially women, they need to get some redressal of their grievances. For example, if there is circulation of any messages or any videos or any images, for example pornography, and as well as some sexual abuse things, so here these victims, they need some platform for redressal of their grievances. So for this, these rules are designed. So this is a reply which is given by India. And India also said that traceability of first originator of information, which might be causing some violation to right to privacy. But right to privacy is not not an absolute right. Though right to privacy is a fundamental right, which mainly decided by Supreme Court in landmark judgment, that is KS Puttaswamy versus Union of India. But what happened? This fundamental right, it is not absolute. So government can impose some reasonable restrictions here. So why we need to compromise here right to privacy? Because so whenever we are having traceability of first originator of information, for example, which is a message which is mainly circulating in social media, whenever it is leading to rise of violence or it also impinging unity and territory of India, so in that conditions we can compromise on this right to privacy. So we are not going to see each and every message, but only messages which are causing violence or which are mainly infringing unity and integrity of India. So we want traceability of information, and we need to identify first originator of information. So this is the thing which is mainly given by government. And next one is, they also talked about internet shutdown. So internet shutdown mainly repeatedly seen in India over last 3 years. For example, in Kashmir, after dilution of this Article 370 and Article 35A of Indian Constitution. So Article 35A mainly talks about special category status for Jammu and Kashmir. So on August 5th and 6th, 2019, so government came up with the dilution of this Article 370 and as well as Article 35A. So because of this, the government thought that there may be increase in violence and increase in riots. So government came up with this internet shutdown in Jammu and Kashmir. And not only in Jammu and Kashmir, but also in some areas like Assam and Delhi. So in that areas also we saw internet shutdown after protest against this Citizenship Amendment Act. And this article mainly focused on recent G7 summit also. So in this recent G7 summit, India signed Open Society Statement alongside other guest countries. So as we know, these G7 countries are global developed economies, right? And let me know members of this G7 in comment box. So we discussed number of times here, right? So what happened here in this G7 summit? So which mainly organized by UK President this year. So UK President invited India's Prime Minister, that is Narendra Modi ji, also as a guest country. So other guest countries include South Africa and as well as South Korea. So along with other guest countries like South Africa and South Korea, India signed this Open Society Statement. So India also criticized authoritarianism and as well as disinformation, and potentially India motivated internet shutdowns here. Okay, so if you see, this statement mainly says that India's commitment to protect digital civic space, and as well as we want to respect human rights also and international law. So there is nothing which we are going to come with this violation of human rights when we are coming with this new IT rules. So this is the thing which is mainly discussed in this topic. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says massive distribution of ex gratia will strain finances, says Center. So this article mainly talking about ex gratia. So people who are died because of this COVID-19. So for that family, government will provide about 4 lakh rupees per person. So this article mainly talking about whenever we are providing this ex gratia of 4 lakh rupees, then what happened? So already we are facing some financial crunches, like government came up with this fiscal stimulus policy and it is providing free food grains for people, and also came up with many stimulus for different industries, different agriculture, everything, right? So what happened, because of this fiscal stimulus policy, already government spent about 3 lakh crore rupees in first tranche, second tranche and 5 tranches earlier in 2019. And as well as government recently extended this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana till Deepavali, that is till November. And as well as government is also taking number of measures. It also reduced this taxes, right? So because of this, government's revenue side, there is decrease in government revenue through taxes, and as well as there is increase in expenditure of government. So because of this, what happened, there is a mismatch that is seen already in this revenue and as well as in this expenditure side. So whenever we are providing this ex gratia for people who died because of this coronavirus, it will further leads to economic stress. So this is some important background that you need to remember. So this topic will be important regarding GS paper 3 under economy. So now let us try to discuss this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that the COVID-19 pandemic is not a one-time disaster. For example, if you are talking about earthquake or flood or anything or landslide or avalanche, so these are one-time disaster. But if you are talking about this global pandemic, so it is not a one-time disaster, and we already experienced first wave, and we are at second wave, and in future recent report says that by month of October we are going to get this third wave of this coronavirus. So because of this, whenever government which is going for compensation for this victims just with money, it is not a good thing. So this is a thing which mainly said by Center to Supreme Court. Okay, so this is context. Now let us see some important details which are given in this topic. So because of this ongoing pandemic that will continue to attack in waves. So we experienced first wave, we experienced second wave, peak second wave, and we are going to experience this third wave in near October, right? So it is a broader approach. Mainly to deal with this coronavirus, we need a broader approach rather than providing ex gratia. So this is the thing which mainly said by Center. So if you're talking about why, because government was responding to petitions in Supreme Court to pay rupees 4 lakh compensation to families in every COVID-19 victim, for every COVID-19 victim. So here recently petitions they are filed in Supreme Court. They said that government need to pay 4 lakh rupees as compensation to families of every COVID-19 victim. So in this context, Center said to Supreme Court that whenever we are providing this compensation to this victims of this COVID-19, it is a not good one, because it is not a one-time disaster like floods, earthquakes, landslides, avalanche, etc. So this pandemic not only affected India but also affected all countries in the world. So pandemic claimed about more than 3.85 lakh lives, and the numbers are going to increase. So deaths mainly are affected families of all equally. For example, poor, rich, traders and farmers, professionals, informal workers, formal workers, etc. here. So if you're talking about the government also came up with massive distribution of compensation across the country. So whenever it is coming up with this ex gratia, so it will dry up precious financial resources of both center and as well as the state here. because when we are using this entire state disaster response to get consumed on this ex gratia compensation for this COVID-19 victims, then states may not get sufficient funds mainly for ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, for various essential medicines and as well as other supplies, and to take care of other disasters like earthquakes, cyclones, floods, etc. here. So because of this, it is not a good thing. And one more thing which we need to remember and which we need to think here is, already finances of state government and central government, they were under severe strain because of this reduction of both tax revenue and as well as there is increasing in health expenditure. So because of this, already we are facing some deficit. So we can't go for this compensation. So this is a thing which mainly clearly said by Center to Supreme Court. So now let us move on to next topic. Title says pact signed to conserve rare turtle in Assam. So this article mainly focusing on one important turtle, that is black soft shell turtle. So what happened in IUCN Red List, it was mainly listed as extinct, okay, earlier, and now we found these turtles, they are mainly preserved in some temples of Assam. So why these turtles are conserved in Assam, especially in temples? Because so people mainly says that these turtles are one of avatar of Vishnu, that is Kurma avatar of Vishnu. So because of this, these turtles are mainly conserved in some temples. So what is important here? So here you need to know about what is this pact, and you need to know about some important facts regarding this black soft shell turtle, and you have to remember that so and so temple, okay. So that will be very much important from prelims point of view. So this topic will be important from environment and ecology, which mainly comes under GS paper 3, and this topic will be especially important from prelims. So now let us try to see context. So if you see context, it mainly says that a major temple in Assam signed memorandum of understanding with two NGOs. So this memorandum of understanding mainly for conservation of rare freshwater black soft shell turtle. So this article mainly talking about black soft shell turtle, okay. So if you are talking about details, it mainly says that so a vision document of 2030 launched after Turtle Survival Alliance India and Help Earth. So here Turtle Survival Alliance India and as well as Help Earth, so they signed a pact involving Hayagriva Madhava Temple Committee. So here this turtle mainly seen in this Hayagriva Madhava Temple. So this committee came up with a pact with Turtle Survival Alliance India and Help Earth here. So this temple mainly revered by both Hindus and as well as Buddhists. So you have to remember this point, that will be important from prelims point of view. So in prelims, how can you expect question? So this Hayagriva Madhava temple, which is located in which state? So this is one type of questions that you can expect. And next one is Hayagriva Madhava temple revered by Hindus, Buddhists and Jains. So they will arrange a statement like this. But here it is revered by only Hindus and Buddhists. So in this way you have to remember. So now let us try to talk about some background here about this black soft shell turtle. So this black soft shell turtle was thought to be extinct in the wild, and it mainly confined only to ponds of temples in northeastern India and as well as Bangladesh. So in Bangladesh and as well as in northeastern India, in some temples we can see ponds. So in these ponds we can see these turtles are present here. And if you are talking about IUCN Red List, so it is mainly listed as critically endangered. So you have to remember this. So they was thought to be extinct in wild, and now they are mainly listed under this critically endangered in IUCN Red List. And next one is they do not enjoy any legal protection under Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 because they are listed under Appendix 4. Okay. So because of this, they can be traded in regional and as well as international market. So even this turtle mainly traditionally been hunted for meat and as well as cartilage. So now let us try to talk about some important things. So what is this multi-stakeholder association? Why we need to go for this pact? So what are the important aims? So if you're talking about important aim of this pact, mainly to restock the wild with viable and self-sufficient and genetically pure threatened turtle population region. That means already they are listed under critically endangered. That means the population which is very less. So mainly if we want to increase population and if we want to make the sustainability of life of these turtles, and when we want to go for increasing the life of these turtles, so we need to go for conservation. Conservation is very important. So whenever we are not taking any conservation, so there is a threat of extinction of this so and so animal here, right? So because of this, we need to go for restock the wild with viable, self-sufficient and as well as genetically pure threatened turtle population in this region. And next one is another important aim is it will also offer assistance for required improvement of husbandry of turtles. And it is also very much helpful for long-term survival and existence of endangered freshwater turtles. So these are some important things which are mainly discussed. And now let us move on to next topic. So title says scale up public health social measures. It is according to WHO. World Health Organization says that we need to scale up public health and social measures. So this article will be very much important regarding health, which comes under GS paper 2. And I want to give you another homework. So you have to refer some facts regarding this WHO that will be important from prelims point of view. So now let us try to understand this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that World Health Organization has advised countries in Southeast Asia region mainly to scale up rigorously implement public health and as well as social measures. So this article mainly saying that World Health Organization advised countries of a Southeast Asian region mainly to implement public health and as well as some social measures to contain this coronavirus. Okay, and WHO also said that we need to accelerate or we need to increase this vaccination for this COVID-19. So why we need to take some public health and social measures and why we need to accelerate vaccination for this COVID-19? Because finally we need to prevent another surge. Okay, we need to prevent another surge of this coronavirus. And why we need to focus on this vaccination? Because we need to achieve herd immunity. Okay, herd immunity we need to achieve. So because of this, we can increase our vaccination and we can prevent transmission chain of this COVID-19. Because in many countries there are confirmation on prevalence of different mutants of this coronavirus are seen. So whenever there is emergence of new variants of this coronavirus, then what happens? That will also decrease vaccine efficacy. So because of this, we need to go for early as soon as vaccination of this COVID-19, mainly to prevent this transmissible variants of this coronavirus or variants of concern. So now let us try to see what is the need. The need here is we need to strengthen our efforts to trace, test and as well as we need to isolate patients of this coronavirus. And we need to take some societal interventions. For example, we need to maintain physical distancing. We need to maintain our hand hygiene. So we need to go for washing of our hands regularly. And we need to wear mask. And we need to be stringently implemented this type of social interventions mainly to break this chain of this coronavirus transmission. And next one is we need to also take some personal protective measures. For example, cleaning of our hands regularly, cleaning of our and maintaining proper hygiene. And we need to go for disinfection and as well as ventilation is very important. And we need to go for proper surveillance and we need to go for isolation as well as quarantine and as well as contact tracing things. So these are some important way forward which are mainly told in this topic. And now let us try to see next topic. Title says a scheme for children launched. So this is about scheme came up by Odisha government. So one thing I want to make sure here is you cannot get like questions of which is a scheme which is come up by Odisha state government. But you can expect question like what are the steps which are taken by state governments to fight this coronavirus. So in that question you can write a statement like, so recently here Odisha state government came up with this Ashirvad scheme mainly for children. So in this way you can quote this article as an example, then you can enrich your answer. So now let us see what is the context here. So if you see context, it mainly says that the Naveen Patnaik government, that is Odisha state government, launched a special scheme for children, that is Ashirwad scheme. So under this Ashirwad scheme, rupees 2,500 will be given every month to children who lost parents because of this COVID-19. So from central also we have one important scheme, right? So we already discussed that in our weekly analysis and also even in our Hindu news analysis. So now let us see details. So if you see details, it mainly says that, so this scheme, under this scheme, beneficiaries are divided into 3 categories. So first one is children who lost both the parents, who lost a single parent, and who lost an earning parent. So these children are mainly eligible or beneficiaries under this scheme, and they will get rupees 2,500 per month. So this is a gist of this topic. And now let us move on to the next topic. Title says comrades and their divergent perspectives. So this article mainly focusing on India, China and Russia relations, and this article mainly focused on Quad factor. So how this Quad is impacting relationship with India and Russia and as well as India and China relations. And this article also showed some examples of Chinese dominance or Chinese dominance over India. And this article mainly focused about what are the ties or what are the issues between India and China and what can be done. So this article will be important regarding international relations, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. So now let us try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. So first let us see context. So if you see context, it mainly says that Russian president, he said that whatever the issues between India and China they are facing, so here Indian Prime Minister and Chinese President, they are responsible enough to solve issues between their countries. And there is no need of extra regional power to interfere in these issues between India and China. Okay, so this statement which is mainly said by President referring to US here. So yes, it is an extra regional power, right? So there is no need of interference of extra regional power mainly to resolve issues between India and China. So Russia may have their reasons to remain blind to Chinese growing aggressiveness. So China's extra expansionist policy, we know about that. So China is having boundary dispute with almost all countries which is sharing boundary with China here. And not only on land boundary issues, but also even in exclusive economic zone, also even in South China Sea and East China Sea. So many countries having disputes with this China, right? So even Russia knows that China is coming up with this expansionist policy, but China mainly it is a blind about that. So Russia mainly says that because of this Quad, we are having some Quad effect. So if you're talking about this Quad, it is also called as quadrilateral. So there are 4 members in this Quad. They include USA, Japan, Australia and also India. So here the important aim of Quad is, I can't say formally like it is anti-China, but this Quad group mainly wants to contain, mainly wants to decrease Beijing's influence in this Indo-Pacific region. And China alleged this grouping Quad as an Asian NATO. NATO, it is a military alliance, right? So China calls this Quad as an Asian NATO. So if you're talking about increase in if you're talking about this Quad effect, so because of this Quad, so that is leading to some change in relationship, or that will lead to some differences between India, China and Russia here. So first one here is Russia and China. They do not have a good relationship between them with USA here. So in Quad, USA it is a one important part. And next one is recently Indian External Affairs Minister, he came up with virtual discussions with Australian as well as French counterparts here. And he also asserted that this Quad, it is not like anti-China. So no country have a veto on India's participation in Quad. So because of this, we can't say it is as an Asian NATO here. And he also said that Indian Indo-Pacific counterpart. So in this Indo-Pacific concept, India can no longer be confined between Malacca Strait and Gulf of Aden. So Malacca Strait, which is present here, okay, so here we have the Southeast Asian countries, and here we have Australia, and here we have this Malacca Strait, and here we have this Gulf of Aden. So from Gulf of Aden to this Malacca Strait, which mainly comes under this Indo-Pacific region, right? So here Indian External Affairs Minister, he said that India can no longer be only confined between Malacca Strait and Gulf of Aden. So these are some counter statements which are given by India, mainly to counter this Asian NATO, which is statement which is given by China here. So if you are talking about Russia, so Indian and Russian relationship, it is also not good nowadays, because this Russia, which is mainly moving towards Pakistan. So because of that, is one of important challenging issue for India. And next one is Russia mainly ignoring Chinese aggressiveness. So this is also one cause of concern for Indian relationship with Russia. And next one is, if you are talking about India and Russia relation, so India mainly depended on Russia mainly for defense. Okay, so even at this non-proliferation, and we can see whenever this was formed after this Cold War era, so what happened here? So that is non-alignment. Okay, so this non-alignment movement that happened after this Cold War era, so India said that we will not align towards USA, and as well as we will not align towards USA. So after Cold War, then what happened? There are two power blocks that came into picture. So first one is USA and second one is Russia. So India came up with this non-alignment movement, and it said that we are not going to align Western powers or even Russia here. But here India, it is mainly tilted towards Russia, because we mainly depended on Russia for our defense equipments. But now today we are mainly moving towards Western countries or Western powers for our defense. For example, we got some important deals from France, and as well as we got some deals from USA also, right? So because of this, we are mainly trying for not only for this, but we are also trying to make a good relationship between China and as well as Russia and India, because India is also part of RIC, that is Russia, India and China. India is also member of BRICS and as well as SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization here, right? So if you're talking about India-China ties, so issues we are facing regarding India and China is regarding border issues at LAC region. So it is not resolved, okay, but we need to take some steps mainly to strengthen our relationship between India and China. And if you're talking about economic ties, we are having a good trade, bilateral trade between India and China. So this is about this topic. So this article mainly says that we need to take some important steps to strengthen our relationship between China and as well as with Russia also. So this is overall gist of this topic. And now let us move on to next topic. So before saying next topic, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. So if you want to clear UPSC 2022, we came up with one excellent, highly beneficial and also highly economic course, that is current affairs package along with mains answer writing practice. So how this course will be useful? So one thing you need to remember here is, before entering into examination hall, you need to know at least 1.5 year current affairs for sure. And this is right time to join this course to cover this 1.5 year current affairs. And why you need to focus on this current affairs? Because in prelims, in mains and even in interview, you can get questions from this current affairs for sure. So you need to master this current affairs to get some perspective regarding these topics. And if you're talking about this mains answer writing practice, many students who are especially beginners or freshers, they ignore this mains answer writing practice. They might be thinking like, after completing of basic NCERTs or after completing standard books, we are going to start this. But this will not happen, and this is not a right approach for UPSC. So whenever you are starting your preparation, you need to focus on this mains answer writing also. So in this course, we are mainly focusing on how to improve your mains answer writing skills. And next one is, if you join this course, we also conduct prelims test on every Sunday, and we also provide video explanation part. So in this way, this course which is designed as per demand of UPSC. So one thing I want to say finally, please don't take this course as a choice. Try to join this course as soon as possible and achieve your dream of clearing UPSC. So for further details of this course, please see the link which is given in description box. And if you want to talk to me directly, you can call to this number 8074765513. Okay, now let's come back and let us see next topic. Title says in Kerala, the need to budget for the future. So this article mainly talking about what are the important steps which are taken by Kerala, mainly to address problem of livelihoods and as well as employment. So it took many important steps regarding agriculture, regarding small and marginal farmer, and it also talked about sunset industries. Okay. So now let us try to talk about this topic, but this topic which is not important directly from your mains point of view. But if you are from state of Kerala, you need to know these points. Okay. So there are many Kerala Kuttis might be watching this lecture, right? So for those people, so they need to focus on this. What are the steps which are taken by their state to control this COVID-19 pandemic? And I want to make one interesting thing today. So please do some research regarding what are the steps which are taken by your own states to control this COVID-19 pandemic, and let me know in comment box. So let us try this interesting thing today. Okay. So this topic will be important regarding GS paper 2 under governance, and this article will also important because whenever you are getting question regarding whatever the important steps which are taken by state governments, then you can add this article as a case study. Because as you know, in Human Development Index and any index, so Kerala which stands first, even in literacy, even in ratio, like sex ratio, etc. So you can write about this Kerala as a case study. Okay. So now let us try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, CMIE, which came up with a recent estimate. So this estimate mainly says that Kerala's unemployment rate is at high of 23.5% for May 2021. So for May 2021, unemployment rate that increased in Kerala, that is of 23.5%. And this report also estimated that there is substantial wage reduction also seen here. So because of this, it came up with many steps. For example, it came up with many important steps regarding this small and marginal farmers and as well as sunset industries, etc. So now let us talk about overall what are the steps which are taken by government to control this COVID-19 pandemic. So first one is Kerala state government came up with this infra and equipment investment around about rupees 4,000 crore from Kerala Infra Investment Fund Board. So from this Infrastructure Investment Fund Board, it came up with establishment of about investment of rupees 4,000 crore. And next one is it also came with Ardhram Health Mission. It was launched, and this mission mainly focuses to transform primary health centers into family health centers. And next one is it also came up with the training to health workers, and it also came up with the learning from past experience because it was highly affected with this Nympha outbreak. So at that time it mainly focused on herd immunity, especially for this healthcare workers. So in the same way, now it is mainly working on this herd immunity, and also came up with this COVID-19 preparedness. So under this COVID-19 preparedness, state government established control rooms and as well as mock drills they were organized. And next one is welfare payment. So about 55 lakh elderly people and disadvantaged people, they received rupees 8,500 as welfare payments. And every family provided with a food kit. An interest-free consumption loan of rupees 2,000 crore are distributed. And next one is 4 lakh meals distributed every day for needy, that is through some community kitchens. Those are set up by local governments. So these are some important steps which are taken by Kerala government to address this COVID-19 pandemic. So in the same way, so what are the steps which are taken by your state government? So please let me know in comment box. So by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll this current affairs package. Thank you so much.